Hey guys, welcome back to our Zen Chaos, a little bit of Zen in a world full of chaos. And wow, that intro that I started whenever I started this channel seems more fitting now than ever before. Hi, how you doing? I was putting together my homeschool curriculum for the year and I almost felt like a piece of me was missing because I wasn't planning on making a video about it, but then I was like, why not? I've done it all the other years. So I decided to do our back to school curriculum overview again this year. And I know that so many other people are new to homeschooling this year, maybe by choice, maybe not so much by choice. And I wanted to just kind of break down what we're doing so that you have some info to add to, I'm sure, the giant amount of information and options that you have out there. But this is what has worked for us for the past couple of years, and so thought I'd go ahead and share it with you. This will be our 4th year of homeschooling. Get yourself some coffee, get comfortable, and let's dive in. So this year, I'm going to remove this plastic sheet so that it doesn't reflect, but for the past 2 years we've been using Torchlight. When Luna was in 2nd grade, we started with level K, and Serenity was in pre-K then. So we started with level K, worked our way most of the way through that, but I did have a baby halfway through, so we slacked a little bit that year. Then for level 1, that was last year, and it was great. It went over ancient civilizations. We talked about the human body and science and really dove into like what our body does for us and how it works and all of that. And for me, that's great because I've been trained in the medical field and that's what my passion is. And so I loved going over that. And we really liked it. So level 1 stops for Torchlight. Level 1 stops at the fall of Rome. So you start in the Stone Age and you move all the way through ancient civilization to the fall of Rome. And then this year we are doing level 2, and this one speaks about basically the medieval the medieval era. And I'm stoked about that because I love myself some medieval era. And I'm excited to learn more about it and learn more than just, you know, what we see in movies as far as what was going on in the UK at that time, and learn more about in, you know, early Europe, and learn more about what was going on in Africa and Asia, and even over here in the Americas, South and North, and figuring out what was happening during the medieval era over all across the world, really. So it's an exciting year for us. So what I do each year is I go through just what our main curriculum is, what the spines are. If you're new to homeschooling, spines are just books that you come back to throughout the year, continuously throughout the year. And then what some of our side curriculums are, like math and grammar, handwriting, things of that nature. So let's go ahead and start. I'm just opening this up. Do you see this? So I usually, and there's a video on this page, because I was usually going through the Homeschool printing company to get my curriculum and any extra pages printed, but I have a friend who posted on Instagram about how she got a comb binder, which is what these things are called. This is called a comb binder. And I looked online and it was like $70, which is less than what I pay for, and it comes with combs and everything. And that's, between that, my paper and my printer ink is gonna be less than what I usually spend for the Homeschool printing company, which isn't to knock them. Their printing skills are much higher, their paper is better quality, they do spiral binding, which is excellent. So if you don't want to like buy equipment or anything, Homeschool Printing Company is a really great company. But this year I printed and bound all of our curriculum myself. Thank you very much. I'm very proud of myself. Anyways, so if you're going to be in homeschooling for the long haul, you may want to invest in a binder, is all I'm going to say. So let's jump into it. Like I said, Torchlight is a literature-based curriculum, which basically means you're going to be reading books for all the different subjects of the school year. So let's go ahead and just start in literature. I have all the books spread out here in front of me and a horrible mess. So bear with me. I am not very organized today, and I decided to film this on a whim. So here we go. So the first one, the first book that's the spine, is actually the No, K-N-O-W, No Nonsense Guide to Grammar. I don't have that one yet. It's actually a really difficult one to find in print. So I'm just going to be getting that one on e-reader, and you can actually borrow it free through Hoopla. If you don't know, Hoopla is basically like an ebook, like a Kindle type of application, but you can get the books for free and you just borrow them and then you have to give them back. So I'll be just doing that through Hoopla this year, the No Nonsense Guide to Grammar. And we're focusing a lot on grammar this year, which is something that I have definitely fallen short on doing in the past. So it'll be good to really like kick it into high gear this year. And then also the Writer's Toolbox is another book that we're going to be using. And it just talks about grammar, it talks about writing stories, it talks about poetry and writing comic books, writing horror stories, like everything. It's a really cool book, and there's actually a few other books that go with it that we will also be exploring throughout the year. But this is the spine, and this is the main book that you'll come back to. Then next is History and Social Studies. So Curiosity Chronicles, and I'll insert like a little picture of it somewhere on here, but Curiosity Chronicles is basically it's kind of like I don't want to say a play necessarily, but it's two people who are talking. It's a girl and a boy, and they just have discussions about different eras throughout the historical period that you're studying. So we used it last year for the ancient civilizations, and then this year we're using it for the medieval. Did I say situations or civilizations? I don't know. So last year the Curiosity Chronicles went over ancient civilizations. This year it's going to be going over medieval civilization, and it's, you know, it's not my kid's favorite. It's about 5 minutes. We do the audio book version and the PDF. So I bring up the PDF on my computer. We kind of scroll through and look at the pictures they provide as we listen to the two voice actors walking through this conversation that they're having about the civilization. And then the kids and I kind of discuss what they talked about afterward. So that's Curiosity Chronicles. That's why I don't have it here. It's because it's a PDF on my computer. Then the next one is Great Medieval Projects You Can Build Yourself. Haven't bought this one yet. I don't know if I'm going to buy it, because it's basically like a guide to, you know, building all the different, like a bunch of different things, or like kind of crafts and stuff for the medieval era, which would be cool. But I feel like we could just explore things that they're interested in and kind of make them on our own instead of following a book. So we may or may not buy that book. I haven't decided yet. These next three books I'm about to talk about for social studies and history are books that we used last year. It was another deciding factor in us continuing with Torchlight this year because I already had these books, and I figured I might as well get my money's worth. So the first one is A City Through Time I really liked this one because it does show, all three of these are really great. I'm personally like a visual learner, and I feel like Serenity is that way as well. And Luna does a pretty, is a pretty visual learner as well. So what this does is just shows like what a city would look like at any certain time. Like this is Rome. This is like back when humans were nomadic. This talks about the Greek colonies. As we move through, we'll start moving into castles this year, I'm sure, while we study the medieval era. The town hall. This is probably more so when we get to colonial times. So this is a great way to kind of just see how cities have evolved through time. The next is A Child Through Time, and it's kind of similar as A City Through Time. It shows what children would wear and what they would play and how if they would go to school or not, and you know what their jobs would be at home. This was one of the last pages we read this year, and so this year we're going to be getting into this is a young Hun. So back with the Huns in Asia, that would be what we would be finding out here. We have the Silk Road we actually studied this year, but I'm guessing we're probably going to touch back on it. This is a child working in a Lisbon market. So basically what it does is just brings the history as a way of the child to relate to it through their peers. So I really do like this book. DK Publishing is who makes these books, and I really enjoy DK Publishing. I think their books are very interesting. I think their illustrations are beautiful, and yeah, I can't say enough good things about DK Publishing. And then lastly, yeah, When on Earth is our last history and social studies spine. It's not the only book that we're going to be using, but it's the main ones. So When on Earth, and this just gives like a big map. So when we're talking about things that have happened through history, we can kind of see how far they had to go. And like when we talked about Alexander the Great and all the places that he conquered, kind of being able to see like all the different space that he took over. It's just visual. That's our social studies this year, in history, of course. And then for science, so one of our science books, our main science book, is PDF format. I just got PDF because I didn't want to pay the extra like $30 for the print book when I could just print off the pages myself. But it's called RSO, which stands for Real Science Odyssey. And they have a few different versions. This year we're doing Earth and Environment, which works really well because we're planning on going on some adventures this year. We've really gotten into camping and overlanding, and so I'm excited to kind of show the kids different ecosystems in the different national forests we plan to visit. So this is what some of the pages will look like, but it just kind of goes over what is Earth science, talking about the Earth's the Earth's spheres, hydrobio, all of those. And yeah, I think both my fourth grader and my first grader are going to get a lot out of that this year. So Real Science Odyssey is one of the main books that we're going to be using this year, and this year is like lots of experiments. It's very hands-on. It's just, I don't know how else to describe it by saying that it's really hands-on. There's going to be lots of like lab experiments or like kitchen science kind of stuff going on, where we're going to be, you know, like planting grass seed in a Coke bottle and seeing how that works and talking about what sphere it is and that kind of stuff. But we also are going to be doing energy lab for kids, and this is just a way to kind of like explore and create ways to harness energy. And so I think that'll be a big win for them. My kids love science. It's probably their favorite subject, and anytime they get to do an experiment or build something with their hands or do anything kinetic, they're like, yes, this is my favorite. So they're gonna love it this year. I'm gonna figure out how to do that with a 2-year-old running around. We'll figure it out. This year also focuses a lot on logic, as you could probably guess by the fact that Logic and Legends is the name of the curriculum this year. So a couple of books that we're going to be using for logic are Two Truths and a Lie. And these books, basically what they are is, so we have Histories and Mysteries, and we have It's Alive. And so basically what this does is each little grouping, like chapter, has 3 different stories, and then after you read them, you have to figure out which one is a lie. So there's 2 of the stories that are true and factual. One of them is made up, and you have to kind of use logic and reason to figure out which one is the lie. So I'm excited for those. There's also 2 games that we're going to be coming back and playing this year. I have not bought them yet. I need to do that, but we don't start school until, we're not starting school till September, so I still have some time. But I'll insert pictures of them. So the first is the Witch Kitty game by Brainwright, and the second is Logic Land by Brainwright. And again, these are some logic games. And I really think that board games, card games, dice games, any kind of games is one of the funnest and best way, it's one of the most fun and best ways to learn, because they remember it because they're having fun, and it's a good time. So game schooling's a thing. You can look that up too if you want. Next, we're going to talk about art and music. So last year we focused on opera and on like sculpting. We did a lot of clay sculpting, and we listened to a bunch of different operas that were composed throughout time. And so this year we're going to be talking about the orchestra and musicians. So this first one is Lives of the Musicians, Good Times, Bad Times, and What the Neighbors Thought. And yeah, we're just gonna be talking about composers and musicians and who they were and what they made. And then of course we're going to be listening to the music that they created. And then we also, I buy most of my books secondhand. So you'll see these like thrift book labels, you might see library labels on them. It's the least expensive way to get my books. And since I have to buy most of them, sometimes they come with stuff missing and pages torn up. But you know what? You get past these pages and boom, it's all good. So it still reads, it's fine. So this one is the story of the orchestra, and this just goes through and tells you about all the different instruments of the orchestra. This is harder than it looks to show you the instruments. Like the string section. I'm pretty sure all of us remember that from elementary school. So there's that, and then we did poetry last year, and we're going to continue that on this year. And so this is the book that we're going to be using for poetry this year, and it's Be Glad Your Nose is on Your Face. And this one's cool because it does come with a CD that I believe reads the poems as well to music, maybe not, but yes. Oh, it says includes 15 new poem activities and a CD with 30 performances by the by the author. So maybe it's just a performance of the poetry. So those are the main spines. Again, the thing with Torchlight is there are other literature-based curriculums out there. Torchlight does use a lot of books, so I'll show you in some B footage, but the list of books is really long on here. These are all alternates, but it's like two pages of books that we'll be reading this year. So it can be quite a bit of reading. This is one of the first literature books that we're going to be reading, so it's not just picture books that we read. We read big old, I wouldn't say this is a big old chapter book, but we read quite substantial sized books throughout the year too. So that's a lot of, there's a lot more that goes into it than just these spines, I guess what I would say. So like I said, those are the spines that we just covered as far as the books. Now we're going to go into more of the language arts part of our curriculum. So throughout our curriculum, we have different books that we'll be reading. This is either I-Grain or E-Grain, The Brave, and with this, in our big curriculum book, there will be a literature primer, and at the top of that literature primer, it gives vocabulary words. So we take those vocabulary words, and each girl has a vocabulary spell book where they write down the word, they write down the prefix, the root, and the suffix. They write down what they think the word means, what the actual definition is that they look up in a dictionary, synonyms, antonyms, and then they write a sentence and draw a picture about that word just to really hone it in. So that's part of their language arts too, is vocabulary, expanding that vocabulary. And then this is where the two girls differ. Like I said, I have a first grader and a fourth grader. So for my first grader this year, she's not reading and she's just beginning to write. Right now, that's not something that we've really pushed hard on yet, but we are going to dive more into it this year. So we've decided to go with Logic of English's Foundations series. And we're starting on A, obviously. And what this does is a couple of things. It teaches the children to read, and this is a phonetic reading model. And so it teaches the children to read and it teaches them to write at the same time. We chose to do cursive. I'm not sure if it says on here, but we did choose to go with cursive because I believe that cursive is easier to start off with than print. And so that's where we're going to start. A lot of people would say that this was good for somewhere between ages 4 to 7. That's what they say as well. My kiddo just turned 6, so I feel like she's kind of in prime time to start this. And so that's what we're going to be doing this year, is Foundations through Logic of English. Then Luna, for her handwriting, we're going to continue on. We started this last year, but we're going to continue on the rhythm of handwriting. And as you can see, it's just, you have the letter, she practices it a little bit, and then she just writes her letters. And she's also learning cursive. So, yeah, that's rhythm of handwriting. It's from the same people, Logic of English, but it's separate from Foundations. For Luna, we are doing, my fourth grader, we are doing Grammar Island this year, which is another series about grammar, and you basically go through and you learn about all the different types of words in the English language, like adjectives, nouns, verbs, adverbs, pronouns, all that stuff. So we're going to be working through Grammar Island this year. And so this is Luna's book, the student book. This is my teacher's manual. And then this is Practice Island, which is the worksheets that she'll be filling out. I did get this second hand because it's kind of spendy to buy brand new. So I did get it off of eBay for a pretty significant discount, but as a result there is some writing in it. So I'm just gonna have to go through and mark that out. It's not really a big deal. It's not throughout the whole book. It's just a few of the first pages that have some writing on there. I think it's like maybe 4 of the pages have writing. So I'll just mark that out. And for the amount that I got off of this, it was worth it. And that is language arts and handwriting. And yes, so we're pretty much to the end. So last, I just wanted to touch really quickly on what we're doing for math. I haven't purchased Serenity's new math book yet, but I'll be getting that soon. So last year and the years before, we did mathematical reasoning for Serenity. And it's cool. It's a consumable book. So I don't know how you might feel about that, but it talks about, you know, numbers, number lines, and basic addition. It talks about patterns and logic. The further you get into it, we start talking about time. And I know it looks like she didn't write in some of the pages she didn't write on, but you can see like we did the whole thing. And then fractions and money. So this is fractions and money. And yeah, and this is for kindergarten. So she learned a lot last year for kindergarten. And so we're just gonna continue on with this through probably up into 3rd grade. And then we'll see if she's still liking it or if she wants to switch, because a lot more math becomes available around the 3rd grade level. So Luna, last year, she started teaching textbooks, which is a computer-based math program, and that worked out really, really well for her. She's pretty math savvy, so she doesn't need a lot of hands-on coaching when it comes to math. So we like that. We did flirt with the idea of switching over to Beast Academy, which is a more literature-based math approach, but we just decided that we talked about it, and we kind of talked about what she liked and didn't like, and, you know, all of that. And we just decided together that teaching textbooks is where we were going to stay again this year. And that's what I love about homeschooling too, is that it's very collaborative with your child, and you get to talk about what's working for them, what's not working, what they like, what they don't like, and kind of let your child be the leader of their education, which makes it more fun in a lot of ways. And it also makes it so that they are learning the way they need to, and so they actually retain the information versus having to go through a specific set of information and teaching to standardized tests and things of that nature. A little bit on my bias is showing. But in any case, that is our curriculum for this year. If you have any questions that I could help answer, feel free to ask down below in the comments. I would love to say that I'm going to be making more videos for this channel, and I just might, but I'm not going to make any promises because it probably won't happen. Like I said, we're going to be on an adventure this year, so we might post some of that adventure here on this channel. Subscribe if you want to kind of follow along in case I do end up posting more here. But yeah, that's that for now. Hope you liked it. I hope you're doing well and are healthy, and that you are homeschooling this year and it's your first year, that you know that you're not alone. So many of us are also with you and homeschooling with you and are happy to help you on your journey. And if you're an old-time homeschooler, hope your homeschooling planning is going well, and catch y'all next time. All right, bye.